Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're setting the stage for a really profound, deeply personal reflection on the teachings of the Quran. We're pulling directly from a fascinating exploration of Surah Al-Baqarah, and we're specifically looking at how the Quran describes the internal spiritual condition of our hearts. It's a huge topic, so let's just jump right in.
You know, when we think of punishment or hardship, our minds almost immediately go to external things, right? We think of financial struggles, health issues, maybe losing something or someone we love. But the source material asks us to completely flip that perspective today. Ask yourself this: what if the biggest punishment from Allah isn't a problem in your physical life at all? What if, instead, it's reaching a point where your heart simply no longer feels anything when you disobey Him?
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the silent punishment, exploring verses 6 and 7. Now, at first glance, it is just so incredibly easy to read these verses about people with closed hearts and mentally distance ourselves. We kind of think, oh, they only apply to outright disbelievers. But the analysis we're exploring today points out something absolutely vital. These verses contain a powerful warning for every single one of us. It's not just this simple binary of being a believer or a disbeliever. It's a spectrum. It's like a shadow slowly passing over a beautiful landscape. You see, the heart can gradually darken without us even noticing it's happening. Section 2. When the heart changes. The anatomy of a sin. To really understand how that shadow falls, we need to examine the actual anatomy of a sin. Think about step 1, the very first time. The first time a person lies or misses a prayer, they usually feel deeply uncomfortable, right? There's this heavy guilt. But then we reach step 2, repeating it. If they keep doing it, that initial guilt becomes noticeably weaker. And finally, we hit step 3, the routine. Eventually, they can commit the exact same sin without feeling anything at all. The physical action hasn't changed one bit, but the heart absolutely has.
And this internal shift isn't just some abstract psychological concept. It's deeply rooted in the theology. The source highlights a really profound prophetic teaching that says when a person commits a sin, a black mark appears on the heart. This just brilliantly explains the mechanics of a hardening heart. The teaching goes on to say that if a person repents, that mark is completely removed. The heart is polished clean. But if they just continue ignoring it, those marks increase. They stack, one on top of the other, until the heart eventually becomes entirely covered. So it's a gradual, cumulative process.
Section 3, the problem of ignored knowledge. The illusion of ignorance.
We really have to ask ourselves at this point, are people genuinely drifting away from Allah simply because they lack access to the right information? I mean, we are living in an era of unprecedented access. Reminders are literally everywhere. We got Quran apps in our pockets, thousands of hours of free Islamic lectures, books everywhere. We're facing this modern paradox where we actually have an absolute overabundance of Islamic resources right at our fingertips.
So if we have all the tools, what is the actual roadblock here? Well, the problem isn't a lack of knowledge. It's that we keep ignoring what we already know. We know prayer is important, yet we delay it. We know certain daily habits are harmful, yet we justify them anyway, telling ourselves we'll change later. And every single time we ignore that inner voice, every time we swipe away that mental reminder, that voice becomes just a little bit quieter.
And this brilliantly illustrates Section 4, dust on the window, the mechanics of a sealed heart. Imagine a beautifully crafted window, meant to let in the warm, guiding sunlight. Now imagine a single layer of dust settling on that glass. Just one layer. It doesn't really make much of a difference, does it? The light still pours in. But what happens if that dust keeps building up, day after day, year after year, and the window is never wiped clean? Eventually, the buildup becomes so thick that the sunlight can no longer enter at all. The source explains that the heart works exactly the same way. Every ignored reminder is a layer of dust. The light of guidance is always shining, for sure, but the window of the heart can become way too clouded to let it in. Now, it's incredibly important to clarify a major theological point here, which the source text really emphasizes. These verses about sealed hearts are absolutely not teaching that Allah arbitrarily or unfairly closes people's hearts. Scholars explain that Allah never wrongs anyone. A sealed heart is the direct consequence of human actions. People first choose arrogance, they choose stubbornness, they repeatedly reject the truth even after they've clearly recognized it. So the sealing doesn't happen to them out of nowhere. It comes after their own continuous choices. A person slowly walks away from guidance step by step until they can no longer recognize how far they've drifted.
Section 5, the blessing of guilt. Finding life in regret.
Now, if you're listening to this and feeling a bit of heaviness, there is a really profound message of hope here. How do you know if your window isn't fully sealed? Well, that sign is guilt. The source reframes this entirely for us. Feeling guilty after you make a mistake is not a burden. It's actually one of the greatest possible blessings from Allah. It is the ultimate proof that your heart is still alive and the light is still getting through.
So the crucial point is that human beings are flawed. We are entirely expected to make mistakes. The ultimate danger, according to this analysis, is not the error itself, but becoming completely comfortable with the error. Making a mistake and feeling bad about it means you are on the path of growth. Retaining that spiritual sensitivity is literally everything.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with this final, deeply provocative question from our source material. Before you move on with your day, ask yourself honestly, is my heart actually becoming softer through the things I'm learning? Or am I just collecting religious information, saving posts, and downloading apps without actually changing my internal state? Knowledge is only beneficial if it actually transforms us. If you found this breakdown valuable, take a moment to reflect on it, and maybe share this explainer with someone who might need this reminder today. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and ensure your heart remains open to the light. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer.